You can't be so happy to change it that you up your life. You know how many celebrities went to Diddy's house thinking they was finna dance?
When you give up those things, like when you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Get punked out and pimped out by some over greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man. So I believe that's a big problem with a lot of the actors out there.
This isn't just another Diddy headline. This is about two men. One, a comedian who spoke in riddles and jokes, dismissed as unhinged. The other, a respected Hollywood A-lister who finally decided silence was no longer worth the cost. Katt Williams warned people. Terrence Howard lived it. And now, neither of them is interested in protecting anyone else's comfort. For years, they were labeled unstable, angry, difficult to work with. But what if the real reason they were pushed aside is because they wouldn't play along? Because they didn't accept the unspoken rules. The invitations that felt mandatory. The rooms you weren't supposed to ask about. The price no one explained, until much later the stories have been there for years. Whispered backstage. Hinted at in interviews. Passed quietly through green rooms like dangerous folklore. A-list parties where phones weren't allowed. Black SUVs arriving after midnight. Mansions with private rooms hidden behind even more private doors. Invitations that didn't always feel optional, even when they were framed that way for a long time. That's all it was, stories. Rumors people laughed off or ignored. Until Terrence stopped protecting the silence and finally spoke.
Did you ever have the opportunity where you got invited and you said no to it?
Hell yeah.
What was the consequences when you said no?
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me. Then next thing you know, okay, hey, will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music. And he's sitting there just looking at me, like waiting. Okay. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to f you. That's what my assistant said. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I get it. So now no more communication. Now you know to be hands off.
In March 2024, federal agents raided Diddy's properties in Los Angeles and Miami. Inside, they reportedly uncovered extensive surveillance systems, stacks of non-disclosure agreements, and, according to multiple reports, more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil. His legal team moved quickly to downplay the detail, suggesting the purchases were routine, even claiming they came from Costco. But Costco publicly denied ever selling that product in such quantities. Strange as it sounded, that detail struck a nerve. Because longtime followers of Katt Williams had heard something eerily similar years earlier.
You can't be so happy to change shit that you up your life. You know how many celebrities went to Diddy's house thinking they was finna dance? How does that feel? You a grown-ass man. You gotta leave Diddy party like that. You can't even sit down in the car. You gotta drive all the way home, standing up. Whew. Can't roll the window down. You roll the window down, that breeze hit that open and start blowing and start saying, 1,000 bottles of baby. It ain't that much ass in the world. Everybody know that. P. Diddy's dumbass lawyer said, you probably got it at Costco. I didn't say it too much. I said I wasn't gonna do this. I was just gonna tell my jokes, get the up out of here. But 1,000 1,000 bottles of baby oil? It wasn't just what they found. It's what they didn't find. It was 233 cameras in that house. In one house. But what didn't they find? It wasn't one Bible in that. Wasn't no living plants in that motherfucker. Wasn't no vitamins. And no handcuffs.
To some, it sounded like an outrageous joke. To others, it felt like a warning hiding in plain sight. Because for Katt, this was never about just one man. It was never only about Diddy. It was about a system, a pattern woven into the fabric of fame itself. When someone becomes powerful enough, insulated enough, the rules start to bend. And when no one is watching, or when everyone is too afraid to speak, those exclusive parties become something else entirely. Pressure chambers. Where power is the currency and silence is the agreement. Hollywood sells a comforting myth. That talent always rises. That hard work is rewarded. That the best person wins. But behind closed doors, there's another version of that story. One where advancement sometimes requires consent. And survival sometimes requires refusal. Terrence Howard chose refusal. Not once, but repeatedly. And every time the industry arrived with quiet offers and closed-door invitations, and every time he said no, another door quietly shut behind him.
A number of producers coming to make the approach, and you threaten to punch them in the mouth, or threaten to knock their head off for talking to you like, or looking at you like you're a woman. You know, when you approach a real man about his masculinity, you're going to get a real reaction back. It's a difference when a guy walks in a room and when a man walks into a room. And a man don't take the same things that a guy will accept. So always be the man in the room. And that's always been my whole thing. And I've lost businesses because I don't bend over in that way. I don't compromise. I don't play gay roles. I don't kiss a man. I don't do that because the man card me.
He refused the roles meant to box him in. He wouldn't play the part, wouldn't fake the flirtation, wouldn't take the money and look the other way. As the offers slowed and the headlines began to twist his name, the industry's silence became deafening. He turned down cash. He turned down comfort, protection, superstardom. He chose the long road in exchange for telling the truth. And the cost wasn't just fewer paychecks or disappearing roles. It was something more deliberate. Targeted hit pieces. Late-night mugshots. Rumors carefully shaped to drain credibility. Questions designed to make him seem unstable. Speaking out once is dangerous. Continuing to speak after they try to erase you, that's something else entirely. These men didn't just decline invitations to exclusive parties. They rejected a system. And defiance like that never comes without consequences.
Store up that hornet's nest unless we intend to get stung 1,000,000 times. I didn't understand that. They had to sting me 1,000,000 times. Right. I'm still not going to join, but I respect it a little more.
All right. How do you handle that? Because they put your name in the press with a lot of rumors and a lot of situations that they try to put on Katt Williams. Do you feel ever the need to, like, I got to go defend this and put out a story about who I am, or do you just let that kind of like roll off your back when
Well, as you can see, I've let it all go for quite some time, and a lot of that is just based upon the fact that I don't really know how to complain because all of the people that I ever looked up to had to go through it too. So I know how much they talked about Martin Luther King, and I know what they end up doing to him. I know this same story about Jesus and a few of my uncles. So now I know that if your mouth is really, really big and you try to tell the truth for a living and you like to air people out, hatred is coming your way. I didn't know it was going to be this type of hatred, but, you know, I'm concrete in all things because of he who strengthens me. So that doesn't mean I always make the right decisions, but I am going to stand by what I...
It's easy to laugh when Katt Williams delivers these chaotic, over-the-top claims on stage. Easy to dismiss it as exaggeration. Just another comedian riffing past the line. But when the headlines start to echo the punchlines, the laughter fades. Those jokes stop sounding like comedy and start sounding like warnings we ignored. Because Katt isn't just talking about parties or personal choices. He's pointing to a system built on silence, secrecy, and submission, where power isn't merely exercised. It's ritualized.
These things that I'm saying in Hollywood exist in religious circles, in politics, in the medical profession. If it's car theft and we're going to accuse you of having a carjacking ring, right? We're going to begin by bringing in people that we...
When Diddy's homes were raided in 2024, the headlines fixated on the surface details, the baby oil, the NDAs, the surveillance equipment. But Katt saw something else entirely. He saw a board in motion. A power structure where tightening pressure on one figure sends a message to everyone connected to them. At that point, it's no longer a joke. It's a confession disguised as comedy, and it was never really about baby oil. It was about how the ordinary gets weaponized. How innocence becomes camouflage. How you think you're just networking, just showing up, while the game is already being played around you. These aren't quirks or one-off excesses. They're patterns. Rituals. And once you recognize them, you can't unsee them. You move the pawns to expose the king, or sacrifice the king to corner everyone else. In Katt's world, that isn't conspiracy. It's strategy.
Understand what is worth doing for ratings. I understand what is worth doing when the industry is canceling one black guy. I know what happens when they are going to elevate another. And I know what happens when they don't care about either of them. This is how quarterbacking go. So the question is, hey, your quarterback just got sacked. Did we know we was fin to sack your quarterback? We absolutely did. It was a play, buddy. We've been rehearsing it, working it out, making sure that at some point, when you get to this level, we can make sure we knock you from a $20 million man to putting in the news that people won't hire you no more and your career is done. Yeah.
So you're saying
in most industries, when someone exposes corruption, they're protected. In Hollywood, they're erased. Labeled bitter, unstable, difficult. Not because they're lying, but because the truth threatens the illusion. And in this town, the illusion is sacred. Katt Williams said it plainly, the way he always does, half joke, half warning. They put the DS in the baby oil, he said. Then he laughed, twisting the knife just enough. You think you're getting a massage, B, you can't even get up. He followed it with another punchline, almost an aside, that's why God gave me eczema. I can't even use baby oil. People laughed. But the laughter missed the point. Because beneath the joke was the same message he's been repeating for years. Once you see how the illusion works, you either play along, or you disappear.
They put the in the baby oil. You thinking you getting a massage, you can't even get up. That's why God gave me eczema. I can't even use baby.
That's not just a joke anymore. It's a confession disguised as comedy. And it was never really about baby oil. It's about how the ordinary gets turned into a weapon. How innocence becomes camouflage. How the game is already playing you while you think you're just making connections. Because these aren't harmless quirks or isolated excesses. They're patterns. Rituals. And once you recognize them, there's no going back. You can't unsee what you've seen. According to people who've worked around these circles, this kind of behavior isn't random. It's part of a repeating system. A quiet rite of passage dressed up as luxury, access, and opportunity. One insider, speaking anonymously, put it this way: you don't get in the room unless you know how to stay quiet about what you saw the last time you were in the room. Another source close to the investigation added, there's a reason the NDAs come out before the drinks, not after.
Losing money. In all of these situations, it's only the artist that's losing. Somebody makes big money. When these rappers get not incidental, somebody made $100 million and now don't have to talk to that artist or none of their crew, don't have to validate none of their contracts. Now only got to deal with the mama, only got to see her once a year, and it's over. And the money goes up and up and up. So they this $20 million guy, but they reaped $60 million in benefits.
Wow.
And they had some people from your city do it.
Wow.
I'm saying there's the good side and the bad side of these business.
In most industries, professionalism is the gatekeeper. In Hollywood, it's obedience. And according to multiple insiders, former assistants, party planners, even security staff, humiliation isn't just tolerated. It's curated. Because once someone gives up their dignity, even once, their silence becomes permanent. That's not conspiracy. That's leverage. So when someone refuses to participate, they're not just declining an invitation. They're rejecting the machine itself. And not everyone is willing to do that. In 2013, Kevin Hart stepped onto the Saturday Night Live stage wearing a bright wig, high heels, and a dress. It was framed as harmless comedy. Just another sketch. Just another laugh. But not long after, something shifted. Kevin Hart didn't just become famous, he became untouchable. A global brand. Movie roles multiplied. Netflix deals followed. And just like that, he was safe inside the system. Meanwhile, Katt Williams, who once held the spotlight, the momentum, the crowd, was fading from view in real time. Not because he lost his talent. Not because he couldn't deliver. But because he said no. No to the costume. No to the ritual. No to the unspoken contract no one admits exists.
Be very, very clear. It is possible that there isn't anything funnier than a guy in a dress. And if that's the case, then it might also be said that there's nothing funnier than a black guy in a dress. Okay, well, I watched all of my friends throughout my entire life be able to dunk a basketball, but not me. So everybody can't do everything. So, some of us make choices. I think it's not a biggest choice for others. I'm saying at the end of the day, Kevin doesn't have to worry about what people are going to say about him wearing a dress because of the long line of dress wearing people before him. So now we had Big Mama's house 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
I've never seen Medea in a pantsuit. I think she wears dresses. So now I'm saying, why are we picking on poor little Kevin Hart? Because it was his turn next.
Okay.
Some of us are against the Illuminati, and we are against the Illuminati at our own detriment. When people are against the Illuminati, then they get punched in the face all the time. The press hates them. Nobody likes them.
He didn't just lose roles, he lost momentum. And once the machine understood he wouldn't fall in line, the narrative shifted. Almost overnight, he became unstable. Difficult. A liability. The story spread faster than the truth ever could, because the story was safer. And beneath all of it, he carried the burden of what he'd seen, of things he was never supposed to recognize, much less remember.
Or him, or me, or people like us.
Yeah.
But now, it's not necessary for us to store up that hornet's nest unless we intend to get stung 1,000,000 times. I didn't understand that. They had to sting me 1,000,000 times.
Right.
I'm still not going to join, but I respect it a little more.
All right. How do you handle that? Because they put your name in the press with a lot of rumors and a lot of situations that they try to put on Katt Williams. Do you feel ever the need to, like, I got to go defend this and put out a story about who I am? Or do you just let that kind of like roll off your back?
Well, as you can see, I've let it all go for quite some time. And a lot of that is just based upon the fact that I don't really know how to complain because all of the people that I ever looked up to had to go through it too. So I know how much they talked about Martin Luther King, and I know what they end up doing to him. I know this same story about Jesus and a few of my uncles. So now I know that if your mouth is really, really big and you try to tell the truth for a living and you like to air people out, hatred is coming your way. I didn't know it was going to be this type of hatred, but I'm concrete in all things because of he who strengthens me. So that doesn't mean I always make the right decisions, but I am going to stand by.
Kevin Hart wasn't the only one who said yes. In Hollywood, saying yes isn't just about landing roles or wearing costumes. It's about entering the inner circle, the one behind the curtain, where power moves through favors, secrets, and silence. Everyone wants access. But no one climbs that ladder without a ritual. You can be polished, successful on paper, respected in your lane, and still never truly break through. According to Katt, it was never about race. It was about allegiance. About who you're willing to bow to. There's a consortium. A closed network. They decide who gets in and who stays out. And if you refuse to participate, if you won't play the game, the gates stay shut no matter how hard you work. When Katt tried to expose it, he wasn't praised. He wasn't protected. He was ridiculed. Silenced. Turned into a punchline. Behind the scenes, his phone stopped ringing. In public, he was reduced to an angry comedian. But in private, when he walked into rooms they thought were sealed, they knew the truth. He hadn't sold out, and in Hollywood, that's not a badge of honor. That's a liability. Katt has never been vague about it. There are alliances. Power circles. Networks that shield their own and freeze out anyone who won't comply. And the deeper you go, the darker it gets. Insiders say sacrifice is built into the system. Sometimes it's your integrity. Sometimes it's your silence. And sometimes it's something you don't fully understand until it's already gone.
Yeah, there's no such thing.
Correct.
I don't care who you blaming.
I believe that.
Somebody benefited. Yeah. So in all of these situations, there's a business involved and there's real money involved, and somebody's benefiting from this thing that looks like, oh, that just happened. Nah, no way. No way. It would be hard for a homeless guy to get into the Hollywood Bowl, let alone a homeless guy be able to rush the stage and actually.
So you're saying same for Dave Chappelle and this random homeless person. I thought the same thing. I'm like, how did he rush the stage? I've been to Hollywood Bowl. How do you rush the stage?
Look. This is the business. We're in the business where make-believe happens, where the job is to have something that costs 9 cents for us to make, and we sell it for $4.99 to you for a good deal. And it's okay that it costs us 9 cents. But in this business, the star is the commodity. These are real people, real lives. When you see things happen and you don't have all of the information, there is a business where they fiddle with the perception of the people. And that's part of the job. Back in the day, it used to be called propaganda. Now it's just called business. They don't say we got to smear the candidate. They smear them. Whoever made you is who is qualified to break you. That's the end of it. When they bought you and put you on that Fox show, it was because you were going to do this and only this. You'll never do that. As soon as you breach that, they done with you.
Some people wear the dress. They sign the NDA. They take the role, enter the room, play their part, and walk out with everything they were promised. Fame, power, money, access. But what happens when the industry is finished with you? What happens when the bill comes due?
Things that people do that end up sitting and they can't get over it. And they got to keep getting high, hoping to get it out of their head. But when you lose your man card, that's the only thing I can think of. You lose your damn man card.
What is that? What do you mean by that?
You give up your ability, your right to being a man. A man don't take it. A man gives it. So when you give up that man card, you don't get that back.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
No, I'm saying what I'm saying. You don't get that back. You come into this world as a man one time. You give up that right for anything, for fear of being hurt, fear of somebody doing something, for wanting to gain something. When you give up that man card right.
Terrence didn't name names to stir drama. He spoke like someone who's seen exactly what people sacrifice to get through that door and what they lose once they're inside. It's not just roles or careers at stake. It's your manhood, your sense of self, your peace. Once you surrender that line, that principle, that piece of yourself you thought was untouchable, there's no pretending it didn't happen. The machine doesn't offer refunds. That's when the breakdown starts. Justin Bieber isn't just a superstar. He's a product, one of the machine's biggest exports. And the signs have been there for years. The spirals, the shutdowns, the cracks on stage, in interviews, in front of fans. Terrence wasn't speculating. He was pointing to reality. These aren't spoiled celebrities. They're people trying to erase the cost they paid. Some turn to therapy. Some turn to drugs. Some never come back at all.
You see some guys struggling with that. You see Bieber struggling with that. You see some of these guys struggling with that.
They can't get it out of their head. They can't get it out of their head. The things that they did, no matter how they did it, whether they were drunk or high or whatever, you gave up your man card. You need therapy. And that's the thing that hurts them the most. And so they end up on drugs, end up every way to try and get rid of any principles there are. And that's what the business does. And the women that trade their bodies to go and get the role, they get to the point where they have their Oscar, they have their money, but they don't have their dream. They don't have the soul that they started with. So it's like achieving don't mean.
When you hear stories like this, buried for years beneath silence, scandal, and strategy, it becomes clear the real danger isn't just the system itself. It's how easily we ignore the people trying to warn us. Katt Williams was mocked, memed, branded crazy for over a decade. Terrence Howard was sidelined, labeled difficult. And now, as the dust begins to settle, it's impossible to deny, these men weren't just telling stories. They were sounding alarms. The industry they walked away from hasn't changed. It still rewards obedience, punishes truth, and thrives on silence. But now, the silence is starting to crack. Whether it comes through an interview, a podcast, or something even bigger, the day these two speak without filters, handlers, or networks to answer to, that's the day the machine will tremble. If you like this video, hit subscribe so you never miss what's coming next. And until then, keep it real.